thank you everyone for joining this second Akamai EdgeTalks. I'm so excited to have Anna Filipa Lorenzo with us. She's a health coach focusing in mental health, mindset, and emotional balance. So after finishing her PhD in I3S in Portugal, she decided to work as a research scientist in Fluidinova, still in Portugal, of course. And then she took a bigger challenge and she moved to Netherlands. So she was working as a researcher in Maastricht University. And this was a work that she did around generative medicine and biomaterials. So very excited. So guys, if you ever break a leg, please talk to Anna. She will be able to regenerate your bones. Yeah, after 10 years of research, scientist, and in this industry, she decided to pursue a different path, and she will explain that over the next few minutes. But she moved away from being a scientist to be a health coach, and so she decided to found her new business in health and personal growth. Funny enough, she's also an environmentalist. She loves food, she loves travel, and she loves to learn about new cultures. Her personal mantra is be the change you want to see in the world. So yeah, but that's amazing. So without further ado, I just want to give you an overview on the things she has been doing. She has a Instagram webpage where you can actually follow her coaching activities. So if you are into personal development, you can actually work with Filipa. She's amazing, and the feedback that I heard from people and clients, it's actually astonishing. And so without further ado, I think I will hand over to you, Anna. So feel free to take it on.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity to be here presenting to you guys today. So my presentation will be mainly focused on mental health in high demanding jobs. And I hope I will start by with a brief introduction about myself and how I came to this job now. So as Jonathan just told you, I was a research scientist in regenerative medicine and biomaterials for over 10 years. I did my PhD, my studies in Porto, in Portugal. I did a PhD in biomedical engineering. I was developing biomaterials for bone regeneration. As you can see here in this image, I was trying to develop an injectable material to be injected in bone to be able for it to regrow in osteoporotic bone. So very interesting stuff. And after that, I was also had an experience in industry, but end up in Maastricht, where I had an international experience that I was really eager to have. And that was during the time of pandemic. So unfortunately, at some point, I felt very burned out and completely out of purpose. So I've decided to take some time off to reconsider my career and to do some self-care. And later in 2021, I've started my accreditation as a health coach and started my business as a health and mindset coach, where I focus mainly on mental health and emotional balance, because that's what I feel it's like my background. That's what I struggle with. So, and as soon as I started doing this, the first thing I wanted to do was help my peers, right? So I help my peers in science, in academia. And I realized that the prevalence of anxiety and depression is very high between PhD students. And when I say PhD students, I'm referring to my reality. So we are we have a formal employment agreement, so full-time working schedule and full scholarship. So it really feels like a normal job. But there was an increase in 56% in the number of new PhDs in the past years. So, which explains as well an increased competition for research resources. And there is this kind of never-ending cycle of we need to get results so that we can publish, so that we can get funding, so that we can get more results, and so on. So it's a very vicious cycle that is highly stressful. And I started to look at the common mental health problems in PhD students. And I've come to this, found this study where the common mental health problems in PhD students are compared with other groups of population, namely highly educated employees. And as you can see, these common symptoms like feeling under constant strain, feeling unhappy and depressed, losing sleep over worry, not being able to overcome difficulties and not enjoying day-to-day activities. These symptoms are actually very prevalent in other groups. So this is actually, I've realized that mental health is not specifically from PhD students, of course, but also very transversal between other types of jobs. So since then, I've been an advocate and an active voice in academia and beyond regarding mental health and well-being. So for starters, let's start with what is actually health and how health and career are connected. So from the World Health Organization tell us that health is a complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just merely the absence of disease or infirmity, which is quite a big concept. So it's not just the absence of infirmity, but also it's very hard to really put into words what is exactly the complete physical, mental, and social well-being, right? So I've been studying this holistic approach, and it has these three core concepts, which is bioindividuality, primary food, and secondary food. And I'll get over with these concepts with you. So bioindividuality means that each person has unique needs, which will change over the course of their lives. And this will then be impacted by very different factors like genetics, environment, diet, and lifestyle choices. But this concept also creates this awareness that as individuals, well, what works best for me will not probably work best for you. So it's a very individual thing, health. Also, this concept of primary food. When we think of food, we think of the food on our plate. However, this is not the case. The primary food is the things that fuel us off the plate. So, and it englobes different areas like relationships, career, spirituality, and so on. Because we all need food to survive, but we need more than food to thrive, right? So even if you are eating the healthiest diet ever, if you feel miserable in your relationships, career, I'm sure you will not feel healthy, right? And then the secondary food, which is actually the food on our plates. And that is also very bio-individual once again, because then you also are prone to all these other twerks, right? There you can also have your allergies and sensitivities. It depends also on your lifestyle, your stress, habit, the convenience, the activity level. I'm sure it's very different what you would eat during your vacations by the beach and when your lunch during your work week. Physiological and psychological factors, social, cultural, and economical factors, and so on. So, as I've explained already, so career is a primary food. So it's something that impacts our health. And so we want to find work that we love or find a way to love the work that we do. And unfortunately, in our society, we have our self-worth very linked to our productivity, which will increase the stress within us. And we are taught to measure success in our careers looking at only the salary or a job title, where in fact a better measure would be also to include other factors such as our free time, liking what we do, our physical health, and our mental health. Another thing that really has a huge impact in our health and the connection with our career is job. and job stress, which is correlated with an increased likelihood of physical health issues such as insomnia, headaches, high blood pressure, and increased risk of heart attacks. And the influence of stress in health is widely documented. It can affect our health directly and indirectly. So that's not any news. And the chronic workplace stress can result in this syndrome of burnout when not successfully managed. So employees would experience a mix of physical and psychological symptoms that will decrease job satisfaction and productivity. So people will feel very overwhelmed, drained, and unable to keep on top of their workload and day-to-day responsibilities. This is also how I felt even throughout during my PhD studies, but also afterwards, especially with the pandemic, it aggravated this a lot. I felt very isolated while working and feeling completely overwhelmed. And so what are the causes of this burnout? So the main cause is always this poorly managed occupational stress. So especially the poor work-life balance, but also the unrealistic work expectations, meaning the unmanageable workload, unrealistic deadlines, and unrealistic time pressure. This micromanagement that sometimes can happen where the employee would feel that they have no control over their environment, tasks, or time, and poor instruction. So when the employee has poorly defined tasks and unclear communication, also isolation and lack of support or unfair treatment. And I've put here the signs that you should pay attention for, even so that you can look after for yourself or your peers, co-workers, but also family and friends. This is always something to be on the watch. Which the signs you should pay attention to are prolonged feelings of being unmotivated or unsure of yourself, these prolonged fatigue and struggles with daily activities, the loss of appetite, these unexplained aches and pains, the frequent headaches and gastrointestinal problems, sleep disturbances, feeling overwhelmed, substance abuse, and a reminder that alcohol is to be taken into account here, negativity and irritability. So how exactly can you better look out for your health, for your mental health? So there are several things that I would consider to be the big pillars of how to keep a good mental health. And one of them is self-care. And when I mean self-care, I mean just taking time to do things that help you live well and improve your physical health and your mental health. This will help you manage stress, will lower your risk of illness, and increase your energy. And this is also very bio-individual concept, right? Because what I do for my self-care will not be the same as you would do. I shared here some tips actually from my own personal liking. I love to dance. So whenever I feel a bit stressed or I need to kind of shake it off, I do shake it off. I dance it a bit. I go for a mindful walk in nature. I feel like just being in nature really helps me ground myself and get my head out of my troubles. Get some sunlight, rest. I know that sometimes we all do this thing of spending some time resting, but on our phones, like scrolling through Instagram or any other apps or whatever. That's not rest. Think of it as when you rest by the beach, that you're hearing getting some sunlight, hearing the sound of the ocean. That is rest, really rest. Talk to a friend, which is also wonderful. Pet your dog or your cat. I have a dog, so I really do this one. Make yourself some delicious food, stay hydrated, spend time alone if you like it also, and journaling. So even take a bubble bath if you like it, but take some time for yourself to reconnect with yourself and improve your mental and physical well-being. Another great pillar of mental health is exercise. Exercise is proved to reduce anxiety, depression, and negative mood, and it improves self-esteem and cognitive function. I've listed here this list of benefits of regular exercise, and they're huge. With regular exercise, you'll have improved sleep, increased interest in sex, better endurance, stress relief, improvement in mood, increased energy and stamina, reduced tiredness that can increase mental alertness, weight reduction, and reduce cholesterol and improves cardiovascular fitness. So the benefits are huge, and it's something that you should always include in your routine, because one of the fastest ways to get out of your head is to go to your body, meaning when you're overthinking just with a lot of work in your head, just go to your body, release some energy there, move. It will help you for sure to decrease your stress levels. Also, of course, another great pillar, your diet. You should have a balanced diet to be able to have good health. So you should eat regularly, which will avoid the spiking of blood glucose levels, which when you starve for quite some time, your blood sugar levels will go down, and it increases your crankiness, your irritability. Should stay hydrated. Water is super important. Eat the right balance of fats. You should prefer these healthy fats such as olive oil, nuts, seeds, oily fish, avocados, and eggs, and avoiding trans fats that are often found in processed and packaged foods. Furthermore, you should include more whole grains, more fruits and vegetables in your diet. I would say that the more whole foods, like the whole food and closer to the original vegetable fruit that you're eating, the better. The less processed, the better, because it will increase the amount of vitamins and minerals that you're getting from your food. Should also include some protein with every meal. This is very important because there are certain essential amino acids that are very important for brain function and for body functions that you cannot that your body cannot produce by itself. So you need to get it somewhere. And also look after your gut health. These recent studies have already shown that our gut is our second brain, and the importance of the microbiota and so on. And you can just go for the practical example. Whenever you feel stressed, probably you will notice that your intestinal transit will be either slower or faster, right? So that is already a good indication of the links between the two. And also be very careful with caffeine. Although it's very common and very general to have like a coffee, especially in Portuguese culture, it's very common to have like a coffee here and there, just as a social, in social context even. But actually we should be very careful with caffeine. It can aggravate and increase our sleep problems, anxiety, and heart palpitations. That's actually one of the reasons I quit coffee 1 year ago. I realized that whenever I was having coffee, I was just so anxious and having already heart palpitations, and I had to quit it. Another great pillar for your health, and especially your mental health here, your sleeping habits. So sleep is closely connected to mental and emotional health. It has demonstrated links to depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and other conditions. And the most interesting part is that there is a bidirectional relationship between sleep and mental health, which means that mental health issues will cause problems in sleeping, but also problems in sleeping can cause mental health issues. So the sufficient sleep will help you and facilitate the brain's processing of emotional information. So the lack of sleep will influence your mood and emotional reactivity and will increase the risk of suicidal ideas and behaviors, which is we have to avoid, of course. And also, and lastly, the one incredibly important thing is just asking for help. I know there is a huge stigma around mental health, but we really need to normalize it. We all struggle in our lives, sometimes more, sometimes less, but we do all really struggle. So we have to kind of make it a standard to talk about mental health, how we really are, and just ask for help. it's really important, because you really don't have to struggle alone. For quite some time, especially during my PhD, I felt very inadequate. I felt like I was not doing what I was not performing as I was supposed to do, and I was very ashamed of it at some point. And I struggled a lot to ask for help. It took me, I would say that over 1 year, struggling already to ask for help. And as soon as I asked for help, things started to change. I had major improvements in my life. So just the fact that you can say out loud, look, I'm struggling, please, I need some help. It is just a huge relief most of the times. And if you do it in an early stage, well, you avoid a lot of the complications of being kind of bottling up your emotions and struggling alone, right? Also, as soon as you ask for help, you can it can help you to build better relationships. It will reduce the risk of other medical issues. So all of the things I've talked before. So as soon as you have an issue and just keep bottling it up, you will most likely will get other issues going on. So it will just be piling up of issues, and it will be even worse. And also, when you ask for help, you are most likely being able to learn to develop your own coping strategies to better handle your problems. And of course, this will mainly improve your quality of life. But once again, the most important thing is to stop the stigma around mental health. So these are the 5 things that I wanted to talk about today to look after your mental health. And I would say that self-care, exercise, balanced diet, and sleeping habits are the main pillars to help your mental health, to keep your mental health, because they will help you with these habits. If you have these habits throughout your life and throughout your day, if you keep them, you will find, hopefully, a good work-life balance. And don't forget that both your mind and your body need care to be at your best. If you train your body, you should also train your mind. And you should also be aware of that. So I hope I was able to show you today the importance of taking care of yourself, especially your mental health, so that you can feel better, that you can feel really healthy, right? And I will invite you also to follow my work on Instagram, LinkedIn, or in my email. My website is under construction. You can find me as Filipa Lorenzo. And yeah, thank you so much. And I'm ready for some questions if you have them.
Thank you, Filipa. That was amazing. I learned so much from you today. Guys, do you have any questions? I'm not sure if you're able to unmute yourself again, but just write them on the chat window. Okay, so in the meantime, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
So you talked about burnout and the things that we should look to define or identify burnout. Sometimes what I struggle with is it gets to a point that it's normal, right? It's normal not being motivated, or it's normal not to like your job. So how do you draw the line between what's acceptable or not?
That's a very good question. So motivation, we all talk about motivation as if it's something that you have to have every time to do your things, but that's not the case. Like, what keeps you moving is discipline, not motivation, right? So, and it's the habits that you have. So of course there will be times where you don't feel like you're enjoying your job, or you're enjoying what you're doing specifically, but you should find a way to kind of have other interests also that help you, to help refresh you, so that you at least can feel better when you go to work. So because what often happens is that you feel unmotivated, and then you kind of, everything goes from there, right? It's like at least I felt that I was very unmotivated in my work. I didn't know what to do, but actually I was not also investing in any other thing in my life, throughout my life, to pick me up. I was just feeling so drained from it, and it just felt like there was nothing that I can do. But I would say that you should try to invest in other areas of your life, in your hobbies and so on, in your relationships, so that you can get some energy from there to keep the wheel turning, you know. I think
So
that's very important.
yeah, yeah, I think that makes sense. So in your personal case,
Yeah.
and I think this is what it's important here. So what was the trigger to say, oh, this is enough, so I should do something else?
The trigger was that I felt it a lot of times before. So as I mentioned, I felt it throughout my PhD studies, and then I felt it again. It intensified a lot during the pandemic, but I was feeling it already as well. So at some point, I just figured out that, yeah, I have to change something, because I felt this before. I asked for help. I did therapy for quite some time. I did yoga. So I asked for help, and I tried to get a lot of tools so that I could learn how to better manage my stress and my expectations and so on. But I felt like it was coming back to the same point, even with those tools. So I decided to make a change. That was mainly it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we have to be, or we have to pay attention to the pattern, right? So that's what's important. If it happens over and over again, then we
Yes,
have
yes,
to
yes.
make a decision. Okay, cool.
Yes. I think that it's normal that at some point, I mean, in some specific times, like if you're working in a project, and at some point it is demanded of you like a lot, like a huge amount of work, and you have to work a lot, and sleepless nights and so on. I think that for some short periods that can happen, and of course you will feel drained and so on. So you have to really have the perspective of, is it something from now, or is it something like that has happened other times and it's maintained throughout the time? And that's actually how I felt. Although there were times of more work where I would feel extra drained, the fact was that in my normal work week, I would already feel drained. So,
Right.
and that is more on the definition of burnout, rather than just the sporadic, like one-time event where you feel like, oh, this was too much and I need to rest. That is more normal. The feeling that you are like that all the time, that is not normal. And
Okay.
for longer periods of time.
Yeah. So I think my last question, and then there is one I think coming from the chat that I will read for you. So now that you have made the change,
Yes.
how do you feel, and what are actually the benefits that you actually feel in doing something different and taking the decision and be encouraged to say, oh, this is enough, I'm going to do something else? What's your experience there?
To be honest, was quite hard. I felt that I was, I invested so much in my training. I invested so much in my career. I did a PhD, and I was in this path and so on. So it was very hard for me to really come to a point and look and just saying to myself, look, this is not it. I will have to make a change. So just this consciousness of having to make the change was really hard for me. But actually, once I did it, and I thought that everyone would be like, what are you doing? You're crazy. But actually, they were not. Actually, everyone was very um, receptive.
Yeah, supportive. Yeah.
Supportive about my change. And so that helped me as well. And now that I'm here, I've been really enjoying what I'm doing, and I feel it has a lot of other challenges, of course, but just I really think it's a kind of like a sense of perspective. Just having this perspective of I'm doing something that I like, and my goal is to do this or achieve, like help this many clients or do this workshops or whatever. It's easier, like I find it more meaningful to me, so it's easier for me to do all these little works that I have to do, even that I don't enjoy as much, you know, like doing the financial part and so on.
Yeah.
But still, I do it because I have this perspective of something that I'm doing something that I really like. And I think that's also something very important, to have this perspective. If you really are not, if you really only see value in your job just for the money, I don't know, probably it might happen that you won't feel very, very excited to do it at some point. At least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
But yeah, but everyone has that's bio-individuality, right? So everyone has their own motives and reasons. I know people who don't mind working for, they have their own goals, and they work for the money, because that will allow them to get to their goals, which is super fine. I really feel like also this journey has helped me a lot with self knowledge and self development. I realized that I don't work like that. I really have to believe what I'm doing to do it well. So doing meaningful work. So yeah, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy what I'm doing now, and
Cool.
that really gives me a lot of more motivation.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a question from
Yeah.
Billy. I'm gonna just read it. So he says, when researching various groups of people versus PhD students, how those age or family status, like different stages of our lives, also reflect people's emotions and boundaries with regards to stress and burnout management.
Yes, there is there are some implications there. Yes, actually, so with the PhD students, and there was on that table, there was also like with PhD students and other groups. Sorry, another group with students. So bachelor students and master students. And the generally the amount of mental health issues is higher in those groups. And I think there is also this correlation between age and family status with these mental health issues. I'm sure other studies have also studied this. I can say also that actually even gender has, from another study that I've seen, gender has a huge role on mental health issues. So, for example, women and trans people are more prone to having anxiety and depression within science. That's another part of the study, of the study that I showed you in the beginning. But yes, of course, like age, family status, like the different stages of your life will impact for sure how you will react to stress. So yeah, that will be very important. I don't have the numbers now, but for sure there's a link there.
Cool. Yeah, Adam says as well. So he's actually sharing our employee assistance program. So within Akamai, we have many programs, as you can imagine. We are a big company, and we
That's
do.
great.
Yeah, we invest a lot in wellness and health, mental health. Yeah, and it's interesting because I do have a question with you. So we have this program within Akamai that can help people with the mental issues or any other issues.
Yeah.
Do you feel if you had that program within the university or the research community, that will allow you to perhaps identify and perhaps do the change sooner than later?
Yes, that's one of like that's a big question. First of all, it's amazing that you have this type of programs within your company. The issue with academia and with science is that it's a very special environment, so to say. And I've only seen now some changes regarding this increase in awareness in mental health and so on. Of course, universities, so the research centers are usually linked to the university, and the university usually has also these types of assistant programs for students and so on. But the fact is that there is this very specific context of being a PhD student or being a postdoc or being a researcher, because it's kind of, you're kind of in the environment of the university, but you're a worker there. And there are like the highly stressful environment there is also, there are these specificities of those environments. And I haven't seen before like this specific help for people in science and academia in this sense, for PhD students, postdocs, and researchers. Now I'm starting to see it more and more. I've actually been talking with the institute where I was working in Maastricht University in the past to try to implement there also these types of strategies and programs, because I also feel like there is a very international environment there, and people do and you can tell a lot the difference of how people react and manage stress. So having someone that closely relates to them, that are like someone that's more at their level, I think it's very important. I mean, someone who has walked their walk, kind of, has done the same kind of journey as a PhD student and so on. I think that's very important, and it really helps, because it just feels like it's a very, very specific pathway and journey.
Mm-hmm.
And very
Okay,
stressful.
it's good to know.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't think so. In that case, thank you so much, Filipa. It was amazing to have you, and I hope this was very helpful for you guys. I will send an email with all the details at the end and the recording, etc., etc., so you have everything as well. Yeah, people is just saying thank you. It was awesome. So yeah, good feedback there. So
Thank you for having me.
yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you for putting this together for us as well. We really appreciate that. Yeah, so have a good day, everyone, and speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.